So, what happens when a football club loses its heart and soul? I mean, really loses it. Let's just imagine a scenario where one single player leaving triggers a total collapse both on and off the pitch. We're going to dive into that thought experiment, a hypothetical billion-dollar goodbye, and what the true cost of losing a player like Son Heung-min could actually be. In a situation like this, the departure, it wouldn't be quiet. The fan reaction would be instant and just visceral. Imagine seeing a comment like this one, right? It just captures that sense of absolute crisis. This isn't just a transfer. For so many, it would feel like the end of everything. The stakes just couldn't be higher. Okay, so the first shockwave, it's going to be financial. A player of his stature leaves, and you could see global jersey sales just plummet by as much as 40%. Almost overnight. It's a crystal clear sign that for millions of people all over the world, Son is Tottenham. And that financial pain, it wouldn't stop there. A main sponsor, one whose whole deal is kind of built on Son's massive popularity in Asia, well, they could slash their renewal offer in half. We're talking a drop from £16 million to just £8 million. It's cold, hard business, right? Without Son, the club's value in that key market just craters. But, money's one thing. The real damage, the real gut punch would happen on the pitch. Imagine the team in an absolute free fall, dropping to a shocking 15th place in the Premier League table. It really makes you ask the ultimate question: how could one man's absence cause such a complete and total meltdown? To really understand the collapse, you have to understand what he built. We need to rewind the clock a bit and see how Son Heung-min didn't just play for Tottenham. He completely changed the club's entire identity from the ground up. And wow, the contrast is it's night and day. When Son showed up in 2015, Tottenham was, with all due respect, a local London team. But a decade later, they're a global brand valued at £2.3 billion. He was the engine behind all of that incredible growth. You can literally see the Son effect in the numbers, especially in the Asian market. Back in 2015, Spurs had just a 3% share. I mean, miles behind a rival like Arsenal. A decade on, that gap is pretty much gone. One guy, in 10 years, redrew the entire commercial map for the club. It's amazing. But here's the thing. His influence wasn't just locked to Asia. Not even close. His appeal is universal. You've got sports bars in Mexico, fan clubs in Brazil. People all over the globe who had never even heard of Tottenham suddenly became die-hard fans, all because of him. Which, of course, brings us to the toughest question of all. If he was this important, this loved, this commercially valuable, why on earth would he choose to leave at the absolute peak of his powers? He's said it many times. His incredible journey with the club just felt incomplete. There was this one piece of the puzzle that was always missing, something that kind of haunted him. One final mission he felt he had to accomplish: win a major trophy. And in this scenario, after finally getting that trophy, his reason for leaving would be just stunning. It wouldn't be for more money or a bigger club. No. In his own words, he'd feel that staying could actually hurt Tottenham. It's an act of selfless loyalty, really. And his logic would be crystal clear. First, you accomplish the mission, win the trophy. Check. Second, he'd feel that staying in a place where he's so comfortable isn't good for his own growth. And finally, he'd want to leave on a high, give the club the space to start a new chapter without him. And you better believe his loyalty would be tested. You can just imagine sources close to him saying he had many, many options. We're talking real interest from giants like FC Barcelona and Manchester United. But he would flat out reject any chance of joining another Premier League team. The idea of playing against Tottenham, for him, that would be just unthinkable. So, okay, we get why he might leave, but that still doesn't explain the absolute chaos that would follow. Why would it be so impossible for a multi-billion-dollar club to replace him? Well, the simple answer is this. Tottenham wouldn't just be losing one player. No, they'd be losing three. They'd lose an elite goal scorer, a guy who can win a golden boot. They'd lose a unifying captain, the team's emotional rock. And they'd lose a global brand icon who powers their entire commercial strategy. They'd lose three legends, all rolled into one. I mean, the hole he'd leave on the pitch alone would be immense. His output is just off the charts. Not just 20-plus goals a season, but a Golden Boot won without a single penalty kick. Then you add in a defensive work rate that's consistently one of the best for any forward in the league. You just can't go out and buy that combination. It doesn't exist. And, oh, they would try. Of course, they would. You can imagine the club throwing a staggering 120 million euros at 3 different attackers to try and fill that void. But it just wouldn't be enough. They would have completely misunderstood that Son's value isn't something you can just add up. It's exponential. The whole is so much greater than the sum of its parts. So what is his real legacy then? Because it's not something you're going to find in a trophy cabinet or on a balance sheet. It's something much deeper, much more lasting. When we talk about legacy, we're talking about what's passed down, right? It's what a player transmits to the very soul of a club. And that's it right there. Son's greatest gift to Tottenham, it was never just about the goals. It was a whole new culture. He set a standard for professionalism, for humility, for relentless hard work that just became the new benchmark for the club. He single-handedly gave them a new global identity and, in our story, leaves with the perfect memory, a trophy held high. Which leaves us with one final thing to think about. In a world where every single player seems to have a price tag, how do you value the one player who changes everything? What is the real worth of someone who is truly and utterly irreplaceable?